Hi, everyone, and welcome to Studio Jake Live. Let me know if you can hear me in the comments. I am very excited. This is my 1,000 subscriber celebration, and I will be taking questions from the YouTube chat. Now, I'm also streaming live on Facebook and as X. So if you're on there, come over to YouTube because that is where I will be taking questions. All right. I'm getting notifications in the chat that my mic is good. So uh, Gothic Chick Force, she says, congratulations. Thank you so much. I would like to say, Goth Chick 4, she has been with me for a long time. She always pops up whenever I do these live streams, and I really appreciate it. We've got Neozoic, congratulations. Of course, my biggest fan, Pixie Ray, is right here. She says, all good. And a mysterious person I've never seen before named Jordan Warren, loud and clear. Another mysterious person, Tyler Warren. Congrats, bro. I wonder if they're married. I wonder if it is. And Neozoic also says loud and clear. Thank you to everyone. So today I'm doing an Ask Me Anything live stream. Like I said, I'll be taking questions from the YouTube chat. I'm very excited that my channel has gotten this far, and it's very exciting. This channel has been around for 7 years, and it's had its ups and downs. And I know, like, I'm not as big as some of the big players like the Quartering or especially PewDiePie, but I really appreciate all of you who came over and made my channel this big. It's big to me, and I really appreciate it. All that means so much to me. Everyone who has stood by, who is watching now, I see there are 6 people live. I really am humbled by that. I'm happy when I have one person. If I do this live stream for one person, that's all that matters. So Jordan Warren just came over from Facebook, LOL, and Live It Loud says congrats. Thank you. Dwayne Asher says hello, and hello to you. Welcome. Welcome to the Studio Jake live stream. Be sure to like this video, share it out to all of your friends, leave me a comment. If you're watching this afterwards, leave me a comment and tell me what you think. All right, so I've got my first question from Neozoic. Favorite animes? Oh wow, so I've got a lot. My favorite is probably Trigun, but I'm also a huge fan of Sword Art Online, especially uh, the first season as well as the Gun Gale season. I'm a big fan of Mobile Fighter G Gundam. That was actually the first anime that I watched that I realized what it was. I had watched like Speed Racer, Sonic X, but I didn't really know that they were anime, so I don't really count them. But then G Gundam comes along, and it was the first mainstream anime that I watched. Transformers Call Robots, or as it's called in the United States, Transformers Robots in Disguise. That's a Transformers based anime. I would say Demon Slayer is probably one of my biggest. My Hero Academia. I freaking love that show, as you can see in the back. Definitely Cowboy Bebop. And oh yes, Dwayne Asher, have you seen Death Note? Yes, I actually reviewed it on my website, studiojakemedia.com. Loved Death Note. It's definitely in my top up there. I haven't really sat down to organize, like, other than knowing Trigun is my favorite. I don't really have like a system. It changes. So but Death Note would definitely be up there. Now I'm not seeing, because I know for the anniversary they did some other OVAs. I haven't gone back and watched those. I've only seen the main show, and I did love it. Let's see. Next one is, do you think Toby M will be in New Avengers? Saw the rumor today. I think that is possible. Seems like if he's not going to be in the new Avengers film, I don't think he'll be in Kang Dynasty, but I think he'll be in Secret War. But if that's not the case, I have a feeling he'll cameo in Deadpool 3. I think that's the closest we'll get. I'm still hoping for Spider-Man 4 now that Sony knows there's a market for it. I hope that they make that happen. All right, what do you think the moral of Death Note is? That power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. There's like this big debate about the moral of Death Note. I honestly think that is what it is. That whenever someone gets a powerful instrument like Light did in Death Note. And at first, right, he's doing it for justice, truth, justice, and the Japanese way. And then he has to become a symbol, right? So he becomes Kira. Well, then it's not good enough to become Kira. And soon that power he has, he gets addicted to it, and that changes him. And I think that is what the moral is. All right, what are your favorite villains? Joker is probably my all-time favorite villain. If we're talking about comic book villains, Joker, Venom, a lot of mix of Marvel and DC. I would say Lex Luthor is up there. Um, there's a little known villain that I really enjoy, Scarecrow. I'm just kidding. Scarecrow is a main villain. I'm just kidding. But it seems like he's a main Batman villain, but he always gets in the bat burner despite being in the Dark Knight trilogy. Bane, I'm a huge Chuck Dixon fan just in general, but he would be one. If we're talking about movie villains, Darth Vader's up there. Jaws, I would say, is a big time movie villain. If we're talking about anime villains, definitely All for One is probably one of my favorite anime villains. I'm not sure if Ryuk is a villain, but he's up there. Knives Million for sure. Master Gundam, again from G Gundam. Dr. Robotnik from Sonic X. Megatron from Transformers Red. Those are some of my favorite anime ones. Let's see, opinions on animes: Code Geass, Steins Gate, Evangelion, and Toradora. I've not seen Code Geass, so I can't, or Geass. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. But Steins Gate, I liked the first series as well as the film. I didn't care for Steins Gate Zero. I thought Zero took away what made the first one so interesting, but I did like the first series a lot. Evangelion, liked it until the finale. The finale, as well as the film, really wore me down, but I did like it up until that point. Toradora, thought it was funny. Definitely. Let's see. Future of MCU. Ooh, definitely in question. I think if it gets back on the right track with, if they figure out what to do now that, it seems like Jonathan Majors, who plays Kang, now that, seems in a world of trouble. And by the way, innocent until proven guilty. I'm not going to make any statements about whether I believe he's guilty or not. Innocent until proven guilty. But I will say that I think if Marvel, decides to go a different direction, there's a chance to reboot. Or if Jonathan Majors is found not guilty, then there's a chance to and when I say reboot, I don't mean reboot the whole thing. I mean reboot what they're planning for Phase 6. Toradora cracked me up. Yes, it was really funny. Thoughts on the rumors that MCU may replace King the Conqueror with Doctor Doom, Fantastic Four villain as the big bad? Yes, I would be okay. I think they should have done Doctor Doom before, right? So they beat Thanos, and now they have to face Doctor Doom. I don't know if it's true or not, but I do hope it's true. I think more than likely what we're going to see is the High Evolutionary step in. I think he is going to be the big bad. And that would also be a good way to bring in the X-Men. The High Evolutionary, he appeared in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. He's actually an X-Men villain. So I would like to see that. But Doctor Doom would be definitely my first choice. I'm just saying logically makes more sense to bring in someone that they've already introduced. Favorite authors that inspired your books and stories? Oh, I could talk about that all night. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, he definitely was a big inspiration to me. He was actually the first, I guess you could say, adult author I had read. I was reading kids' books or kids' versions of classic books before, and someone gave me, that someone being my mom and dad, gave me a copy of uh, The Hound of the Baskervilles that was unedited, and I read it and I loved it. So his stuff definitely inspired me. Frank Peretti is a big inspiration. C.S. Lewis, J.R. Tolkien had a huge influence on my fiction in general. Akira Toriyama, who created Dragon Ball, he had a big influence, especially about how I write battles. But yeah, those are some of my biggest influences. But like I said, I could talk about that all night. Definitely a lot of authors. Hello to you, Georgia Hall. Welcome to the Studio Jake Ask Me Anything live stream. Let's see. Ryuk is the villain. He is why Light turned evil. Just my opinion. Yes, I definitely can see that. Yeah, I would say that definitely. What is the origin of the name Studio Jake? Oh, this is a good question. I am the studio. That's the origin. Everywhere I go, I bring my vidcast, whether it be on Instagram, Facebook, locals, Twitter, or now X. I am the studio. So that's why the name Studio Jake came around. I didn't want to isolate myself to one place. So Studio Jake became that, Jake being my nickname. Not a whole lot of people call me Jake. Mostly it's family or very close friends call me Jake. I don't care if people address me that way, and so that's why I went. Studio Jacob just sounded too long, so that's why I went with Studio Jake. But yeah, that's why it is. How do you feel about the future of the DCU? Cautiously optimistic. James Gunn is a little bit of a pervert, and he's a liar. We've seen this in the way that he talks about Superman Legacy. He has said so many misleading comments about Superman Legacy and just how his new timeline is going to work out. That being said, he is a better filmmaker than J.J. Abrams and Zack Snyder, so I kind of want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I'm not sure. I'm really waiting to see who he casts as Wonder Woman and Batman for the main. I know Robert Pattinson is the Batman, but I'm waiting to see who will take on the cowl. And I'm hopeful Dick Grayson will be Robin. I hope he won't jump so far ahead that it's Damian. For one thing, not a lot of fans really like Damian. People who came in later kind of do, but that think about it. Have you ever seen Damian in a video game? No, because no one likes him, right? We tend to like Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, or Tim Drake. So I would like to see him do one. I would actually be okay if he went to Jason Todd. Like if he said, okay, I'm going to skip Dick Grayson. Dick Grayson's going to be Nightwing. So I'm going to make Jason Todd Robin, and that'll be part of it. I think that would set his DCU timeline apart. Let's see. From Kelly Campagna, off topic, but what made you want to write books, and how do you go about writing a full novel, and what steps did you take together published? Does a new writer need an editor to preview the rough draft? Okay, so that's let's see, what made you want to write books? Reading books actually made me want to write books. I mentioned Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Hound of the Baskerville. That definitely made me want to write. I loved that book so much that I wanted to write something that was endearing. How do you go about writing a full novel? Okay, so and what steps did you take to get together published? I think she meant to get published. But writing a full what steps did you how did you okay, first of all, you need to read writer craft books. So like Stephen King has one called On Writing. Orson Scott Card has one called Writing Science Fiction and Fantasy. Even if you don't want to write those genres, I highly recommend it. Brandolyn Collins has one called Getting Into Character. I definitely recommend that one. That book is specifically about crafting characters for your books. Definitely check that out. Jerry B. Jenkins, yes, the Left Behind guy, get it all out of your system. He wrote a really good book called Writing for the Soul that I highly recommend. Because he also touches on writing nonfiction, so definitely get that. Honestly, to get published, I just shot in the dark. I started emailing publishers, and just was sending stuff out and seeing where it went. And that's how I got connected to a Buzz Publishing, who published the Seven Royals, and then their other imprint published the second Seven Royals book, which respectively is All Good Things and Breaking the Stars. New Life Publishing published Cacophony, and I was their first ever fiction book. They had only done nonfiction up to that point, and I was really pleased to work with them. If you find a publisher, typically they have editors on staff. However, I recommend that you at least have a friend that you might know for your first book. To get published, I recommend that you have a friend edit it, because it could look good if it's at least partially there. So that would be my recommendation. Opinions on tokusatsu. Judgment means special photography for live action films or TV shows. Include Godzilla, Ultraman, Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, Power Ranger, etc. I'll be honest, I don't watch a lot of Super Sentai. grew up in the era when they were just coming. I did watch a little bit of Kamen Rider, or as I knew it, Mass Rider. I didn't know it was Kamen Rider at the time. Um, I actually don't have a problem. I think that specific genre, as I've seen it with Godzilla, I think it looks cool. My Sometimes though with Godzilla though, they have to do certain things to make it look more realistic. And unfortunately, in new Godzilla films that has leaked in, so for instance, in the original Godzilla's, Godzilla would open up his mouth really wide to fire his beam because they needed to, the puppeteer or the person in costume had to do that so people couldn't see them. But now they do it so, like Shin Godzilla, his mouth almost went like this when he was firing his radioactive blast, and I was like, oh goodness gracious, how far is his mouth going to open? So some of those traditions kind of seeped into modern films, but I think it looks cool. It looks great. um Most anticipated movies of 2024. It's hard to say because a lot of stuff that I was looking forward to kind of got pushed back. So I honestly don't know if if I could uh take a minute, it would probably be because I would have said Deadpool 3, but that's more, I'm not even really a Deadpool fan, but more so because I'm excited to see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. But I actually think that got uh, pushed back to 2025, didn't it? Or am I mistaken about that? I had heard it had gotten pushed back, but maybe I'm wrong about that. There's a lot of good stuff coming out though. If but like I said, I'm not really sure. I'm looking forward to the sequel to Joker. That's probably the one I'm most anticipating. The They're doing supposedly the Crow remake is coming out. I don't know if that's actually going to make it. Um, I was looking forward to Blade, but all the behind the scenes drama has kind of made me unsure. I will say I'm War of the Rohirrim is one I'm looking forward to. Kung Fu Panda 4, if I could name a couple. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I wasn't sure about, but then I saw the trailer and that actually looked pretty good. But those are just a few that I would name. Fun but hard question. If you were the head of DCU at the beginning, how would you handle it and how would it look? Okay, first of all, I would have done the opposite of what Marvel did. So Marvel started off with Iron Man, then they brought in all the other characters, then brought them together for the Avengers, which Paramount at the time was overseeing. What I would do is I would do the Justice League. So I would do all the characters coming together. I would do the original ones, although I would probably add Vixen just because Vixen is one of my favorite superheroes into the mix as the Seven. I would be tempted to emulate the JLU and when they did the Hawkman invasion, I would maybe do that, and that's how I would introduce Hawkman and Hawkgirl from the original. So the Carter Hall and Shira Thal versions of the character. That's probably what I would do. So the Justice League fighting these characters. It's been established in DC Comics that Superman is hurt by magic, and since the Thanagarians, which are the Hawk people, they use a mix of science and magic, they do wound Superman. So that's how I would explain that. I would also use that to introduce Green Lantern. So that's how I would use Hal Jordan to do it. That was how I would manage it, and then spin off everybody. Maybe give everyone like a prequel film that took place before Justice League, just to establish their characters. But that's what I would have done. I would have done Justice League right out of the gate, which that was the original plan. They were going to do a film called Justice League Mortals, and the Green Lantern film with Ryan Reynolds was supposed to tie into it. But there again, what they do, they did Green Lantern. They got big for their britches because of the success of The Dark Knight and Superman Returns, which that one had a good opening, but then it kind of filtered off when people realized how terrible it was. But they should have just gone after the Dark Knight trilogy. They should have just done Justice League Mortals. And then Stuart Airy from Peaceful and Easy says, congratulations on reaching 1,000 subs. Thank you very much. But yeah, that's kind of that's what I would do if I was the head of the DCEU. If they were to say, "Hey, Jacob, we see you're a super fan." Let's see, Gojo or Nanami. Ooh, we're talking Jujutsu Kaisen there. Geez, that's that's a tough one because Nanami is just such a Chad, he's really awesome. And I love the fact that, he just doesn't mess around. He just comes in and starts punching people, or he draws his oddly decorated butcher knife, which is really cool. But then Gojo is, he's really awesome too. He just comes in, he's got a great personality, he's a good teacher, he's a good mentor. And, as stated by both allies and enemies alike, he could destroy a whole continent with his powers. So, uh, definitely, definitely that's a tie, I would say. If let's see. Opinion on Michael Bay's Transformer film series. 1 and 3 are the best. 2, I did not like at all. The new human characters they introduced, as well as Mudflap, and I can't remember is it Skids and Mudflap? I didn't like their personification, but I did like 1 and I did like 3. Was not crazy about the rest of the series. I did sort of like how they introduced Grimlock, but I wish that they had made the Transformers look less alien. I really like how Bumblebee did the character designs. To me, that was the best one. Although I do think they should let Bumblebee talk. But that's kind of my take on the Michael Bay series. I don't want to say they got worse and worse, but they kind of settled in on being B-movie sci-fi. So that's my take on it. Say, what was this is from Stuart Area. What was the logic of the new Batman movie? Why create a standalone movie? Because this is my opinion. I think that they didn't know they were going to do an interconnected universe until James Gunn got in. After Zack Snyder left, Walter Hamada, who was at the time the lead of Warner Brothers, he kind of hinted that he wanted all the characters to go back how it was pre-MCU. So before MCU, all of the DC characters were kind of standalone films. They existed in their own little universes, which that's why a lot of people like their movies, because the stakes were more realistic. And I think that when Walter Hamada greenlit the Batman with Robert Pattinson, I think that that's what the logic was. Now that Snyder's out, finally, we're just going to go back to everything being standalone, and the Flash is going to sort of rewrite it. But then they kept delaying the Flash, and so that affected it. So that's my honest take on it. I just think that until James Gunn and Peter Safran got the top chair, there was just a little confusion on the vision of it. Opinions on Spy Family or Spy X Family. Freaking love it. It's a hilarious comedy. I think it's so funny, especially considering the characters don't really know what's going on. But it's, with each other, I mean. But I think it's funny. I think Agent Twilight is probably one of my new favorite anime heroes. Of course, Yor is fantastic. Anya is just really funny. I think it has a really good mix of everything, and I can't wait to see the film, which is going to come out soon, called Code White. Spy X Family is so cute. Pixie Ray, absolutely, absolutely. I would say cool. Harley Quinn or Punchline? Harley Quinn, but the original Paul Dini version, not the new 52 and then Rebirth version. Give me the classic Paul Dini version every day. I've only read a handful of comic books with Punchline. Was not impressed. It seems like we're trying to create a more sociopathic Harley Quinn as opposed to sort of the manic character that she is. That's what I would think. Let's see. Neozoic. Although Transformers, Cybertronians are aliens, robotic aliens, sure. Yes, you are correct. But I think that if you look at the Bayverse forms compared to even forget the 80s cartoon, but if you look at it in even sort of the more modern, like the Transformers Rid or the Transformers Armada, they didn't have that sort of blade look that, where it was, where, Megatron, he's all bladed out. I prefer sort of what they were going for. And yes, I know the 80s cartoon was a big toy commercial. As far as I'm concerned, most Saturday morning cartoons were, but that's just my opinion. I think that, I don't fault Bay. I know what Bay was going for. He tends to like to do things his own way, but that's just my personal take. I think the series would have been better as if he had stuck closer to the original design, especially for Jazz. Jazz was virtually unrecognizable. In fact, in 3, Q was supposed to be Wheeljack, but he looked so different that the test audiences didn't recognize him, and that's why they had to rename him. Same with Dino. Dino was originally supposed to be Hot Rod, but again, look. Oh no, I'm sorry. I take that back. He was supposed to be Sideswipe, but he looked so different that they just changed his name in I guess post, and then of course we got Hot Rod later on. But like I said, that's just my personal opinion. I've seen Transformers cartoons where they look way different, like the Energon trilogy. They kind of kept Megatron and Optimus very close, Starscream, but that's about how it is. All right. So, what anime character do you relate to the most? Oh, dang. That is so tough. There's so many great ones. I guess maybe as far as relatability goes, probably Pastor Lawrence from Pastor Lawrence and Saint Cecilia. I guess I connect with him more, having this responsibility of taking care of something so special. I relate to that as a husband, and I think that that show is also very warm-hearted. Man, it's difficult to say because there are so many people. Another one I relate to a lot is Toge from Jujutsu Kaisen. He's the one that he can't. He has to be careful what he says because everything he says comes true. So, like, if he was to say push, all of a sudden the person he's talking to gets pushed by some, wind force. But I also understand that, as the word of God says, the tongue, it's like a rudder and how it goes. So I kind of relate on that level as well. All right, from Stuart Airy. Why do you think DC is less popular than Marvel? DC has characters that are just as good. Honestly, I think it's the MCU and the Fox X-Men movies, at least the first ones. Even though Batman has had some really amazing films, just looking at it objectively, Marvel Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, the Sony Spider-Man and the X-Men movies, it's just hard to beat it outside of the Dark Knight trilogy, for example. Or the first Superman with Christopher Reeves, I guess that would be an exception. It's just hard to say that those films compared. And I think so just the general populace, Marvel films have become more recognizable, especially Spider-Man. I was actually speaking about this to some relatives on my wife's side. My wife is Mexican, and Mexicans freaking love Spider-Man, and it's just a fact. I'm not trying to be any way, but whenever I would go over there, it would be Spider-Man this, Spider-Man that, Spider-Man this. The Mexican trailer for Captain America Civil War, you would have thought it was a Spider-Man movie. And I remember I asked a relative of my wife's, I said, why is Spider-Man so big in Mexico? And the reply was very blunt, because he's poor. So take for that what it is. That's what he said. All right. Opinions on Yoshiaki, kind of famous for Wicked City, Ninja Scroll fame. I have not seen any of those. So I have no opinion. I'm not going to say whether I like them or dislike them. I know about them, but I'm not familiar with that work specifically. Unfortunately, I do actually have Wicked City in one of my queues on the various apps that I have. And Pixie Ray says, yes, we do. LOL. Oh, let's see. Next question. Do you think it is the fault of too much relay focus on Batman? As far as why, yes, I do. Batman is, despite what Superman fans want to say, and I do not dislike Superman, by the way. I think Superman is a fantastic character, but Batman is the most popular comic book character. I'm not just saying that because he's my favorite, but you can go into any store, even a gas station, and you can probably find something related to Batman. Superman and Spider-Man would be definitely second, Wonder Woman right after. But you can go to anywhere in the United States especially, and you can find something Batman. So yeah, I think that is, yes, that is why. And I hate to say that, as Batman is my favorite comic book hero, but I think that that is the truth. It is just they've relied too much on Batman. And what's worse is they don't have great people like Denny O'Neil or Chuck Dixon at DC Comics to kind of help them connect with Batman. So it's a bunch of writers who don't know anything about the character. And so we're seeing this decline in even Batman fiction. All right, back to Stuart Airy. Do you think the average moviegoer recognizes that there's a difference between DC and Marvel? Yes, I do. Marvel tends to be more science fiction based. DC tends to be more fantasy based. And you can kind of see that even though they're the same medium, they're comic books, in my opinion, that's something big you can tell about them, because even within the Marvel universe, um, the forces that you might consider satanic, they're in the Marvel universe, they're explaining it away as, oh, it's from a dark dimension. That's where Dormammu lives. Uh, that's where their version of the devil lives. He has Mephisto, I think, is what they call him. And DC, it's very fantasy. There is really powerful magic. In fact, when they did their crossover, the Justice League versus the Avengers, when the Avengers go to the Justice League universe, there's a scene where Scarlet Witch, because she gets her power from magic forces, she actually becomes overwhelmed because the DC universe's magic is stronger and wilder, as she put it in that comic. So I do think an average moviegoer knows the difference between Marvel and DC, even if they mix up some of the characters that are more similar. All right, from Live It Loud. Who do you think is the most important DC characters apart from the Trinity? So besides Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, I would say definitely John Jones, the Martian Manhunter. I would say Aquaman, Green Lantern, the Hal Jordan and John Stewart Green Lanterns. I would say Black Canary. She's one of the founding members of the Justice League, at least by comic book standards. I would say them. They would, if Captain. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Captain Atom. Captain Atom is one of the most powerful Justice Leaguers, apart from Superman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, and I think I would throw in Shazam there, depending on who is writing him. All right. Do you think Blue Beetle would have been better if it had came out years ago? Yes, I would say even 5 years ago, maybe 6. I think Blue Beetle, I haven't seen it yet, so I'm not gonna comment on it. I'm just going by reviews that I've read. But yeah, I think if it had been, I think it would have been way more hype for it as well. Let's see. Neozoic opinions on Hayao Miyazaki and his work. Oh, I love Miyazaki. I have seen all of his films. I think they're fantastic. I do think he was a little too hard on his son, who did Legends of Earthsea, or excuse me, Tales of Earthsea. I think he was too hard on his son. I think his son did a good job with that film, but I remember he was very disappointed in his son. I think he fell asleep during the movie or something like that. But I think that. But as far as them individually, I would have to say my favorite of the ones you've listed is Howl's Moving Castle. But Princess Mononoke, love it. Spirited Away, loved it. My Neighbor Totoro, loved it. Spirited Away, if I'm looking at it objectively, Spirited Away is probably the best as far as story and art quality. I think it's fantastic. Opinion on the Watchmen comic: overrated. I think that, I know I'm going to make a lot of people upset when I say that, but I find that the Watchmen gets hyped just because it was so different, but I honestly think that it is overrated. In fact, if you were to put a gun to my head, I would almost have to say that I'm trying to think of the name. Sorry, I'm trying to look up the name of the of the writer who originally Alan Morris, is that it? Um, Alan Moore, not Alan Morris, Alan Moore. I actually think he himself is overrated. I'm being honest, with the exception of his run on the Swamp Thing. I just think that his stuff is so dark that people kind of see it because he's willing to go places where other DC writers aren't willing to go. But I think that Alan Moore's work is a tad overrated, and that includes the Watchmen. Yes, Alan Moore. The Killing Joke is a joke. I think it. What's my favorite indie comic? Probably Common America. That's the one that I enjoyed the most. I've gotten all of their works, including their Black Hawk stuff. So that would be Iconic Comics. I think they're probably my favorite if you're pinning me down. But there are so many other great ones as well. Jawbreakers by Richard Meyer is fantastic. Isom by Eric July. I've gotten into that. And but if you were to press me for a favorite, I would have to say it's definitely Common America. They're the ones that I think their artwork is fantastic. It's got that manga style. I think that another good one is Overmind by John Delarose. I think that one is good. I know people have different opinions of him, but I thought Overmind was a fantastic comic. I actually interviewed him here on Studio Jake where I talked about it. Which anime was the most disappointed, or do you mean that I was disappointed in? I would say Evangelion. I thought that the ending for both the TV show and the original film, it was very disappointing. It kind of the show ended on a total cliffhanger, but Evangelion is probably the one that disappointed me the most. Dragon Ball GT would be up there as well. Probably GT would be the top. She professed herself a pupil of the wise man. That one, I love Isekai fiction, so I was all set for it. And I actually heard that that I wasn't the only one. I heard it wasn't that popular in Japan either, and that it may not get that it effectively is not getting a second season. But I'd say those three were the biggest. Like I said, I really like Isekai, so she professed. I was really looking forward to, but did not get it. Best DC movies of all time. The Dark Knight is up there. Joker, the original Christopher Reeve Superman, the first one specifically. Um, let's see. What's another good one? Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, and it counts. It was in theaters. It got a wide theatrical release, so definitely Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. Let's see. I'm trying to think. How many of them have I seen in theaters? Now, I don't like Zack Snyder films. That being said, seeing Man of Steel in theaters was actually not a bad experience. Henry Cavill is an amazing Superman. He just got a really poor director. But if I was to nail it down, uh, Christopher Reeve's Superman, The Dark Knight, Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, Wonder Woman, definitely Wonder Woman. Let's see. Why do you think Doctor Strange played such a small role in his last movie? Well, actually, Peaceful and Easy. I would say that it was because that they were trying to cram too much into it. That if they had just focused on Wanda and not had included America Ferrera, who isn't even that popular of a character. She's from a new wave of DC superheroes during their Marvel Now event, which was not well received. But I think if they had just focused on Doctor Strange versus Wanda and had left out America, uh, not America Ferrera, what am I saying? um, but I think that's what it is. They just bloated it up way too much. And Pixie Ray agrees with you. Doctor Strange deserved more. Let's see. How do you feel about the Star Wars universe right now? Oh, it's death by a thousand cuts. That's how I feel about it. Star Trek and Star Wars used to be two franchises that whenever I heard a new announcement, I would get giddy, even if it was a book series. But now that's not really the case anymore. Star Trek, I've given up on. Now, a few people have said, give Strange New Worlds a chance. Maybe I will someday, but Star Wars to the point where when I hear Star Trek is doing something, I'm kind of starting to get that way with Star Wars. I'm gonna give Ahsoka a chance. I need to binge it. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm gonna give Ahsoka a chance. I'm not gonna listen to the naysayers because they were wrong about Andor. Let's be real, they were wrong about Andor. So and the Mandalorian season 2. So I'm gonna give it a shot and go by my own opinion. But yeah. Opinion on George Romero. George Romero. Let me see. I'm not sure if I have seen anything by George Romero. Let me double check that. Oh, the Night of the Living Dead guy. Okay, I've only seen Night of the Living Dead. I thought it was good. I have a review of it. I think I did it last year for one of my Halloween specials. But I haven't seen any of his other movies. I've only seen Night of the Living Dead, which I did say was a classic. All right. Would the world heal if we got a time machine and stopped George Lucas from selling Star Wars? Yes. From Neozoic. Opinions on BioShock game series. I haven't played them, so I don't want to say if I like them or dislike them. Just from the game trailers, they don't look like something that would interest me, but that's just, again, that's personal preference. That's not a statement about BioShock in general. How about the worst DC movies and the worst Marvel movies? Okay, so worst DC movies, Batman and Robin. Um, uh, Anything directed by Zack Snyder. The Whedon cut of Justice League, definitely. Wonder Woman 1984, Superman Returns. I think I mentioned Superman Returns. I would say those are probably the worst. The Flash, I don't want to say it was the worst. It just wasn't good. Let's see. For Marvel, the original Daredevil with Ben Affleck, Thor: Dark World, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the Eternals. Oh my gosh, what a snooze fest! Let's X-Men 3. Oh, New Mutants. That's probably the worst. Is New Mutants of those. Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. One thing I will give credit to Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, at least it doesn't overstay its welcome. So you don't watch it and go, man, I just wasted 3 hours of my life. It's only 90 minutes, so you can actually enjoy it a little bit if you look at it from that perspective. It's a good movie to kind of laugh at its flaws. Spider-Man 3, there you go. I would say those are the worst of Marvel. Let's see. What do you think about Hayden Christian finally getting recognition from Pixie Ray? Yes, freaking yes. It's about time. I think that I am a huge Star Wars prequels fan, and my parents took me and my sister to go see Star Wars: The Phantom Menace in theaters. Not the first weekend because it was too crowded, but they took us the second weekend, and I was blown away by it. Same with Attack of the Clones. We all went as a family to see that, and we all went as a family to see Revenge of the Sith. It was blown away. What was really funny was Revenge of the Sith. We actually wanted to see it opening night. My dad did the coolest dad thing you could possibly do. And we all wanted to see it. So he found this rinky dink movie theater somewhere in the DFW area that when you walked in, it smelled like bad popcorn. And we sat our butts down and we enjoyed Star Wars Revenge of the Siths and had a fantastic time despite the nasty theater. And we did it just so we could say we saw it opening night. So kudos to my parents for facilitating that experience was worth it. And I think that even Ahmed Best, my opinions about Jar Jar Binks have gone from I was a kid, I thought he was funny, to I thought he was kind of lame, and now he's kind of back to he's a good character. It was a good way to bring in new, younger fans to the franchise. I understand what George Lucas was doing with that, and I think that millennials like me, although I consider myself mainly part of Gen Y because I'm an 80s millennial, I think that we are leading the way in a new appreciation of the Star Wars prequel. One Punch Man versus My Hero Academia from Neozoic, the show, not who would win in the fight. I think My Hero Academia, just because One Punch Man, they take too long in between the seasons. My Hero Academia delivers consistently good story arcs and films, quite frankly. I know One Punch Man season 3 got delayed because of the unconstitutional lockdowns, but hopefully, with it getting back on track, we'll see it really soon. Okay, from Stuart Airy. If you were buying a game system right now, which one? Sony PS5 versus the newest Xbox? Sony PS5, hands down. I already own it, but I would buy another one if I was given a choice between the two. One Punch from Pixie Ray. Let's see. Neozoic. Opinions on Star Wars Revenge of the Sith novel, if you have read it yet. I highly recommend. I love it. I think that it's one of the most well-written uh, novelizations of the movies. And I've read all the novelizations, but that one is well-written. I'm not going to say it was better than the movie, but it provides more context for what is happening in the film. I think it was because it was based more on an early draft of the script versus what the movie went through the editing process, and so it provides more context for Anakin being jealous of Obi-Wan and things like that. But yeah, I love the novel. I think it's fantastic. From Live It Loud, opinions on modern comics versus classic comics. The problem with classic comics tended to be that they focused on very sensationalized stories. That being said, they were well written and they had really good characters. Modern comics tend to focus more on the message of the comic as opposed to the message being a subtext. That's my opinion of modern comics. I think that when the message becomes the narrative or the plot, you lose the plot. I try not to do that in my own novels. Obviously, I have symbolism and I have subtext, but I try not to overload my reader with information. Literature Devil actually did a really good video comparing the Daredevil Born Again to the origin of Kamala Khan, who's the new Miss Marvel, and he does a really good breakdown of it, comparing the religious themes of, Daredevil going through what he's going through and Matt Murdock being a Catholic versus Kamala Khan being introduced as a Muslim character. It was a really fascinating and very interesting way that he brought about it, and I feel the same way. Let's see. Favorite chaotic good anime character. Chaotic good anime character. Let's see. Um, would Saitama be considered chaotic good? Because he's a superhero who's just trying to find someone who he can fight on an even playing field, right? He's not actually in it for the heroics. Um, Goblin Slayer is definitely chaotic good. I would say he's up there. Let me think. Man, that's a tough one. I would if going by manga, Knuckle Duster for My Hero Academia Vigilantes, which that's the books I have up here, definitely one of my favorite chaotic good characters. So I think I caught up. I have got time for a few more questions. If anyone wants to get a few more in, I'm going to be closing at 5. Let's see. Inosuke, of course. Yes, Inosuke is definitely a chaotic good character from Demon Slayer, of course. He wasn't in the Swordsmith Village arc, but I still think it was good. All right, from Neozoic, did you think comics should take the manga approach where the stories have the beginning and the end? You know, I struggle with this because mangas are a form of comic, but they are kind of their own style. It's kind of like anime is its own art style versus a cartoon series, right? From the West. And if I was to let me just put it this way. I would say if you're going to do DC Comics and you're going to have a main storyline, yes, and that's tough because the characters have to age. And I actually remember reading an interview with a writer who said it was really hard for him to write characters like Dick Grayson or Wally West or even Barbara Gordon because they're in this weird thing where Batman has already had, 3 Robins since Dick Grayson. They're that second generation. Um, but I would say yes for main storylines, but I actually don't have a problem or didn't with DC and Marvel and Image and Dark Horse or whoever you want to pick doing alternate timelines. My problem was they overdid it. And also they reboot too soon. Before, DC Comics would reboot like every 10 years, but now it's almost like every time I'm hearing there's some new event happening that's going to restart everything. So that's my take on it. I say yes for the main story arc, but leave it open for Earth 2 and all that jazz. From Live It Loud, best female comic book characters: Wonder Woman, Vixen, Black Canary, Batgirl. Going to Marvel, I actually like Spider-Gwen. I know a lot of people don't care for her, but I think she's pretty cool just as a sub character. Storm, Jean Grey, the Invisible Woman, Carol Danvers when she was Miss Marvel, Jessica Jones. Let's see, the Julia Carpenter version of Spider-Woman. She was the one that was around when I was reading in the 90s. Black Cat, definitely. Yeah, those are a few. All right. Pixie Ray, do you think My Hero Academia is a good story to recommend for disappointed X-Men fans, or are they not comparable? I don't think they're comparable in the sense that the X-Men deals more sometimes with social issues than My Hero Academia does. But yes, it's a very similar genre. So as opposed to, so in X-Men, it's mutants. They have this X gene that gives them these superpowers that manifest. With My Hero Academia, they have the human population is majority superpowered. So the X-Men are different because they're in the minority, but in My Hero Academia, they're the majority. So it's kind of like a flip of that. And I do recommend it for X-Men, or if you're a fan of Teen Titans, I especially recommend it for fans of that. But yeah, definitely, I would say. Let's see, Neozoke. The main reason I asked this because people nowadays are sick and tired of the constant reboots, multiverse. I agree. I think they've done it too much, and obviously Pixie Ray. That's my point. Is I think for the main storylines, they need to just do 1 to whatever it is, and then if you get to 1,000, maybe reset. But they do it too soon. Like I think with Batman, they only got to issue 85 before they reset back to 1. That didn't make any sense to me, and because it was even in the same. It was even in the same timeline. So, Stuart Airy, why is it so hard to do a good Flash movie? Because they don't have good writers over at Warner Brothers. I had said this. They should not have done Flashpoint, which was basically they did a really poor version of Flashpoint. What they should have done is instead done something like Flash Rebirth. So in that one, Wally West was Flash, but Barry Allen finally managed to escape from the Speed Force. But then the Black Flash, which is an evil version of the Flash, tried to possess him. And so the Justice League had to step in. What I would have done is I would have done that as a way to introduce Wally West. And then you could bring in Dick Grayson, Barbara Gordon, and all Cyborg, all these other sidekickish characters. But yeah, that's what it is. It boils down to, I think with the Flash movie specifically, they didn't know what they wanted. So originally it was just going to be a generic Flash movie where he faces off against Yellow Flash, Professor Zoom, whatever you want to call him. But then when they realized that the Snyderverse wasn't doing very well, they decided to make it Flashpoint. But then they got a new scriptwriter who didn't want to do that. He wanted to keep it a standalone Flash film. And then there was like all these creative fightings. That's what I think. Best Batman video game from Pixie Ray. Best Batman video game. I think I'm going to go with Batman Arkham Knight. That was a fantastic video game. I still get chills from it. It was a lot of fun to play. The whole Arkham series in general is fantastic. Ignore the Telltale series. All right. Pixie Ray. Ezra Miller was also a menace. That is true. All right. Neozoic. Do you prefer all good heroes or anti-heroes, or it depends on the story? It depends on the story. I like anti-heroes like the Punisher. I like superheroes like Iron Man. And if you go into DC universe, I like anti-heroes like The Question, and I like superheroes like Superman. It just depends. I have nothing against anti-heroes. My only thing is I want the lore to be the same for the character. So we know the Punisher kills. We know Batman doesn't kill, except unless you're Zack Snyder. But that's kind of what I think. I want the lore to be the same, even if you're creating an original story based from these characters. I would like to see that. But yeah, I love anti-heroes. I love all good superheroes either way. All right. From Live It Loud. Worst modern comic book characters, male or female, DC or Marvel, past or present. I would have to say probably I would have to say all of besides like the main ones that you see on this little poster board behind me, I would say I don't like a lot of the Spider-Verse characters. I think it got way carried away. I like sort of the original ones that they should have just stuck to those, but man, it got really blown out of proportion with all of those. Like I said, I like Spider Gwen. I even kind of like Spider Ham. I like Spider Man Noir, but yeah, that definitely drives me mad. I think Ironheart. She's probably one of the worst written characters. There's potential there, but it just didn't go anywhere. I would say I hate to say this because I like his old stories, but probably Red Hulk. I think they overused him, and that kind of messed things up for me a little bit. I don't care for Moon Girl. I think that they've made her way too arrogant. Let's see I've done a couple of Marvel ones. What are some DC ones? I don't read a whole lot of DC anymore. I mainly read Batman just because it's gotten out of control. I don't care for Damian. I did early on. I thought he was okay, but I kind of have gotten tired of him. I think again overuse him. I don't care for Booster Gold. I know he's kind of older. I think he came around in the 80s, but I don't like sort of the modern interpretation of Booster Gold. Um, I don't like the new version of Human Target. Definitely was awful. I don't like Simon Baz as Green Lantern. I think there's too many human Green Lanterns now. Again, there's just one too many. I don't think they should bring Guy Gardner back as a Green Lantern. He was good when he had the Sinestro Core ring, and when he was with the Dark Stars. I think that's what they should do with him. They should give up on him as a Green Lantern. From Neozoic, ranking least favorite to favorite of the Robins: Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, and Damian Wayne. Okay, least favorite, hands down, Damian Wayne. Um, Man, after that it gets kind of sketchy. Okay, Stephanie Brown would be next. Carrie Kelly. Then I would have to say Jason Todd, then Dick Grayson, Tim Drake is the Tim Drake from the 90s is my favorite. Let's see. Pixie Ray. Damien makes me irrationally angry. Me too. All right, so I've got time for just a handful more questions. So if anyone wants to throw in their last ones, those who have stuck with me through this whole thing, I really appreciate it. Y'all have made this incredibly lively. So give me some last good questions. I'm ready to hear them. Let's hear it. What do you got? Boom, 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 boom. Opinion on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I love the Ninja Turtles. I think they're fantastic. I don't like some of the newer cartoons they've done for them. And 2003 Ninja Turtles really got me into the property. That's when I watched the 80s cartoon. That got me into the old comic books, got me into the Dreamwave comics, RIP. Got me into the video games. So yeah, I love the Ninja Turtles. I did not like Mutant Mayhem. I thought that from way back in 2003, seeing how they developed, I think that Mutant Mayhem felt more like bad fan fiction. From Pixie Ray, most recommended manga. Okay, so I like to recommend manga that have concluded to start out. My Hero Academia Vigilantes, especially if you're into superhero fiction. I also really like um, Captain Corinth, which is a newer manga to get into. I think it's fun if you're like It's science fiction mixed with fantasy, so I highly recommend that one. For kids, don't do any of those titles. Do stuff like Pokemon and whatnot. Now, there's currently a series that I'm enjoying because it combines Batman with manga, and it's Batman Justice Buster. I'm really enjoying that one. 2003 TMT is the best. 100% correct. Will Robert Downey Jr. return as Iron Man? I hope so. I really hope that I published a clip with all the, because there's rumors going around that they are trying to get him and Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson back for Avengers and Secret War, him being Kevin Feige. And I actually talked about Robert Downey Jr. specifically on Jester Bell's live stream, and I published that clip today or yesterday because I wanted to get ahead of it. But yeah, I hope so. I would really like to see that. Top 10 favorite movies of all time. Oh, geez. Let's see. Let's see if I can do it. Let's see. The Dark Knight, Fearless. Those are my top two. Now, these other ones might be out of order, so forgive me. Iron Man, Wonder Woman. Let's see. The Godfather. The Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Scott Pilgrim, Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. That's 7 so far. I'm doing theatrical films only for this question. Castle in the Sky. Let's see. Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. Okay, that's 9. So 10. And I'm going by movies that I revisit over and over again, that I always tell people, that I always talk about and tell people that I like. The Shining would be number 10. So there you go. Now please note that list is subject to change. By the way, Fearless, it's a Jet Li film. Love that movie. Thought. I love it. Live it loud. 2012 TMT is my favorite. I did like the 2012 version, to be clear, but I just think, in my personal opinion, 2003 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is the best. Which Fearless movie? Okay, so there's a movie with Jet Li called Fearless, and it is a film. I actually think you and I watched this together. For those of you who don't know, Stuart Airy is my father. I'm just casually reading his name to promote his channel as well, Stuart Airy, Peaceful and Easy. So definitely go over there and give him a subscribe. But you and I actually watched it together. It's the one where Jet Li plays the founder of Wing Chun Kung Fu, and he fights the samurai at the end. I love it. The director's cut is way better. It's actually hard to find in the United States, though, but I highly recommend you watch the director's cut. Let's see. Opinion on Sam Raimi's original plan for Spider-Man 4. I love it and his original plan for Spider-Man 3. I think they should have done it. Apparently, his plan was he was building up for Spider-Man 5 to be Spider-Man versus the Sinister Six. I would love to see that. All right. Best Batman comic books of all time, specifically from the Bronze Age to present. Okay, I actually did a video about this, so go and watch that. If you want a couple of good ones, I would recommend Batman 3 Jokers, Batman. It's Joker's Last Laugh. Let's see, Nightfall. Nightfall is a little bit of a dedicated read, though. It was an expansive story arc, but I highly recommend it. Let's see. I'm looking over at my stuff. Oh, the Batman Earth 1 trilogy. I did think it kind of petered out in the final volume, but it's still good. Let's see. I'm going to go with, again, I'm looking over at my thing. Oh, my all-time favorite is Batman The Long Halloween. You can't go wrong with that. Or its follow-up, which is Dark Victory. I highly recommend that one. Arkham Manor. It's not called Batman Arkham Manor. It's just called Arkham Manor. Okay. How would ranking from least favorite to favorite of Lucas's Star Wars films 1 through 6? Okay. Empire Strikes Back is number 1. Hands down, bottom line, end of story. Empire Strikes Back is a masterpiece, not just as a Star Wars film, but as a movie in general. And I know George Lucas didn't direct that one. A guy named Irving Kershner, who directed one of the RoboCop movies, I think. So I would say Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope. Then I would go to Revenge of the Sith, The Phantom Menace, um, Attack of the Clones, and then Return of the Jedi. That's how I would rank them. Um, Rogue One, I would actually also put above Return of the Jedi. Let's see. Which one, Neozoic, which one is better or worse? DC's New 52 or Marvel's Ultimate? Okay, Marvel's Ultimate, hands down. I loved the Ultimate Iron Man Origin, and I love the Ultimate Captain America miniseries. That was the only thing I liked about the Ultimate Universe. The New 52, the Batman story arc, and the Superman. Now, I didn't like how arrogant they made Superman in the beginning, but they slowly started to tone him down. I also liked their origin for the Justice League in that series, and of course, nothing beats Batman Court of Owls. That is a fantastic story arc. Oh, that's another one, Live It Loud, that you can look up. All right. Pixie Ray, did you like Robert Pattinson as Batman? I think he was a good Batman, but not Bruce Wayne. I would agree with that take. I thought he was fine. I was prepared to hate it because I heard all sorts of terrible rumors about shooting from behind the scenes and during the unconstitutional lockdowns. So, but I actually went in and I actually enjoyed it. I did think it was a tad too long, but I still thought it was fun. I rewatched The Batman and liked it better the second time. Have you rewatched it? Opinion. Yeah, I liked it better the second time. I think I caught more. If you want to see, I have a review of it on my website, StudioJakeMedia.com. Head on over and check that out. Opinion on Eric July's Rippaverse. I love it. I think it's good. I've seen very little detractors who I think are acting in good faith. Literature Devil did a really good review of it. Your boy Zach did a really good review of it. I'd like to think I did a really good review of the first two issues, but I think it's good. A lot of the other reviews I see are in real bad faith. People calling it the ripoff verse, or one reviewer admitted he didn't read it. His first review, he just spouted out nonsense because he had seen like some screen captures of some of the pages. And then he actually got it in the mail and he did a second review where he virtually said two different things, but he still tried to make it look bad, of course. But I think the Ripperverse is good. I think it's here to stay. All right. Who wants to ask the last question of the night? Let's see. What do we have? Going once, going twice. All right. All right, here we go. Live It Loud. You've got the last question. Congratulations. Thoughts on Todd Phillips as a director? I think he's a good director. I don't think he's blow me away amazing, but I do think he's a good director and whatnot. Okay, Neozoic, you've been here all night. I'm gonna throw you a bone as well. I'm gonna do a bonus. Opinion on Full Metal Alchemist. I don't like it. I think it's too disturbing. Again, personal opinion. I've watched some disturbing shows in my time, but I just think it's a little too much past. All right. So that's all the questions for tonight. Now, before I close up, I want to once again thank everyone who visited. I'd like to thank that mysterious Jordan Warren artist and Tyler Warman, suspicious last names. I'd like to thank Gothic Chick 4 for coming through, Live Out Loud, Dwayne Asher, Neozoic, all of you, Kelly Campagna, of course, Kim Campagna. I would like to thank all of you for coming out, for hanging out with me for this hour. And I'd like to thank my dad for jumping in. I would like to thank my wife, Pixie Ray, for moderating. She always does a fantastic job. She's basically my producer. But before I totally close down, thank you all seriously for helping me get to 1,000 subscribers. I could not have done this without you. I'm not going to be one of those guys who forgets his audience and who badmouths them. If you want to jump on a live stream and y'all want to talk about something else, I'm totally on board with that. I think that that is fun. I enjoy engaging with all of you. Thank you for watching my videos. And please note, if everyone is welcome to disagree with my takes on my videos, obviously, but if you come at me in bad faith, you may not like my answer. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I have fun making videos. I'm going to continue to make videos. I'm looking forward to the future. Soon, you're going to see a brand new studio. We'll be changing locations, and it's going to be a blast. So thank you all. All of you are fantastic. Neozoic says, take care, Jake. Pixie, Stewart, Live It, and the rest of the good folks. Good night. Good luck. Peace out. Stay safe, my friends. Fun stream. Pixie Ray with the stars. Live out loud with the praying hands. Thank you all. And I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.